I didn't even know this game came out on PlayStation 5, and as you see, I start the journey on hard mode. I think Shin Megami Tensei is famous for being one of the most difficult turn-based RPG games that is out there. So I wanted to see how difficult the game is, since this game even got a safety mode, just that some people can experience the story mode. I don't want to go too deep into the lore, because it is kinda complicated, but I'm going to make it very simple. The whole world gets destroyed at the beginning of the story, and you end up in a post-apocalyptic world. At the beginning you are just trying to survive, but eventually your objective is to restore the world to its former glory, or maybe to a world that suits your desires more. Since this game has 5 different endings, I didn't even know that I picked the harder path at the very beginning. I do some minimal research before I start my trophy hunts, so the first playthrough, if there are multiple, is always blind, which made it, in this case, extremely long. Not that I regret it, because it was extremely satisfying to play through hard mode in Shin Megami Tensei V. The game doesn't even have a lot of story trophies. The first one you get pretty early on, once you fuse with this guy that saves you, and the rest of the story trophies are for finishing the game on its different endings. So for the most part you get the trophies for engaging with some game mechanics. There are a bunch of collectibles in this game and a lot of bosses to beat. The main skills you are supposed to learn are miracles. Miracles are more like passive skills, if that makes sense. Some miracles allow you to buy stuff for cheaper in the shop. Some miracles give you some buffs for your attacks, all the way from physical to elements debuffs. So at the beginning of the game you are focusing to upgrade a specific skill you want to use the most. You will use less MP for it too. So if you want to focus on a specific skill, you want to save your points that you find from bosses, or there are some collectibles on the map that also give you points that allow you to upgrade your miracles. I focused a lot on completing the side quests. It was very difficult to progress on hard mode at the very beginning, so I unlocked this trophy rather quickly for completing 5 side quests, and I would say this tip aligns with most of the things. On some side quests there are demons that will join you on your party that can help out a lot against the boss fights. To exploit their weaknesses, that's also a main game mechanic this game has. Like the Persona games, if you strike the boss's weakness, or if you hit them with a critical hit, you get an extra turn. So this is your main strategy to take down the bosses. Even if one of those attacks doesn't hit the boss for a lot, the extra turn that you could potentially heal someone that has low HP, or maybe use a Magatsuki skill that can turn around the tides of battle a lot to protect your whole party, giving you critical hits, piercing, or just heal up your whole party. There are a lot, so I'm not going to go into these Magatsu skills a lot, because for the most part I just use the critical hit one. You want to capture and fuse as many demons as possible, but there are a certain type of demons you can't catch. There are 4 types of Mitama demons that basically give you different bonuses if you defeat them. I didn't use the DLC to increase their spawn rate, so that also made this more difficult. There are a few locations in the game that guarantee 1 Mitama spawning. But if you want to max out your character, the Mitama DLC is necessary, because it would take forever to max out all your stats. So there are 4 types of Mitama. One of them gives you extra experience, the other one drops items that you can sell for quite some money in the store. There is one that drops glory that you can use to upgrade your miracles. The red one you see on the screen drops the item that gives an extra level to your demon, but you can only use that item until the demon reaches the same level as the Nahobido. And I would say the best item that you can get is the Gospel. That just gives an extra level for the Nahobido. And as you see, there are other ways you can manipulate the turn. This trophy you get for pretty much guarding elemental attacks from enemies. This rule applies to you and the enemy too. If you strike an enemy with an attack that gets pretty much guarded, you lose 2 turns or 2 turn counters. So if you strike the enemy with the wrong type of attack, that could instantly end your whole turn. But there is also a way to reflect attacks that guarantees that either you or the enemy loses their whole turn. There are no accessories in the game, so the main way you change your abilities are to fuse different demons' essences into different demons or into the Nahobido. For the Nahobido, you can get the demon's weaknesses and strengths. So you can fuse a Nahobido into some demon that has a resistance to physical attacks, for example, but it is weak, let's say, for ice, but you can fuse another demon with a skill that has an ice resistance, and you would pretty much get 2 resistances on the Nahobido. The thing that I didn't mention so far is that you do game over if the Nahobido dies and if the whole party isn't wiped out, so your priority is to make the Nahobido as strong as possible. I focused my stats into defense at the very beginning, so that would guarantee that he survives most attacks. Scan them with the spy glasses so you know what you need to build, either with the Nahobido or the rest of this party, to counter them and make a build to make your life a lot easier. Another thing that can happen when you try to recruit the demons is that sometimes one of your demons jumps in to help you negotiate with them. This usually drops the requirement to pay them in item or with just money. The talky bit, like when you talk to the demons, I didn't really understand what makes them join you. So for the most part, I just did random stuff. Don't worry about it. You can fuse all the demons. You have a little companion that follows you around in the game, and this companion can pick up items. And after picking up a certain amount of items, you get a trophy. These are random and they can also spawn enemies, so I guess just be careful when you do this. And of course, you can fuse 2 different demons together to get a stronger one. The demons always keep the abilities you select when you fuse them together, but there's also a chance that the fusion fails. So for that you do get a trophy. But there are also 3 different demons that you only can get with a fusion accident. So make sure, if you want to platinum the game, to get those 3 demons as early on as possible, because it's going to make the whole thing easier. And I think those demons are also quite decent for the older game. But even if you don't get those rare demons, you can get demons that are above your level cap. There is potential to get some demons that can help you a lot early on than intended, but they're only a few levels higher, so do with that information whatever you want, I guess. This is another mechanic in the game. There is a chance that a red aura surrounds the demons on the map, which makes the fight against them a lot tougher, but you also get a lot more experience if you beat them. If you beat one of these demons that's powered up, you get a trophy, so you can just go revisit one of the areas after you leveled up a lot. So this trophy is quite easy to get. Even if you are playing on hard mode, you don't need to worry about this. Just revisit an older area and you'll get this without any trouble. There's a little bit grindy one, but I got this without even trying. To spend a certain amount of money during these negotiations, if you try to capture the demons just by talking to them, you should get this relatively quickly. And I was slowly getting to the end of the game, and as I progressed to the game, I encountered a lot of these statues. These are also collectibles that you need to obtain. You can see them on the map, so they are easy to find. And if you're playing the game for the first part, it is extremely recommended that you go to these statues because they level up all the demons in your party except the Nahobido. Another collectibles is the Mimen. You get one for collecting 100 of them, which is the halfway point. I wasn't really trying to collect them at this point. It just kind of happened naturally, even without talking to the foxes to reveal their location on each map. There are some side quests, mostly involving boss fights, as I mentioned, that you get trophies for if you beat the boss. Sometimes they just join your party after you beat them. As you are playing through the game, you will encounter this red towering thing pretty early on in the game, and you should seek out to take them down as early as possible, because these towers unlock the miracles, and you are also required to beat all of them for this trophy. They get a lot easier if you are further in the game, but these demons that you encounter here are a lot stronger than you fight on the overworld normally. So you better prepare for these fights. Another thing that I didn't mention, which is probably the most dangerous part of the game, is that it doesn't have autosave. So if you're playing on hard mode for the first time, you should pretty much save after you collect something or do anything in the game. As I got closer to the ending of the game, I was able to unlock 75% of the compendium. As I pointed out early on, you should capture every demon that you see on the map and try to fuse as many as you can. This is another grindy trophy, I guess. In these vending machines, there are those items that you can sell for money. You should pretty much always interact with these even after you have the trophy, because extra money is always good. And that's what, as I was preparing for the boss fight for Odin and Zeus, I also collected all of these glory stones. And finally, after talking to every fox, I was able to collect the Mimen. This takes a few hours, and I would say you should do this at the end of the game, and even maybe in the next playthrough. It depends, because the reward for this is really good. You get a lot of good items. You get a lot of strong items and glory, as you see a few of them pop up on the screen. And some of those items give you extra stats for your character, which is important. Even one skill point is going to add up eventually to maxing out your character at some point, I guess. As you level up demons, sometimes you get some presents from demons. This is their sign of showing respect, I guess. Once you do this enough, you will earn a trophy as well. This doesn't give you a trophy, but there was an update in the game. It got one free DLC, which gives you another extra demon. The extra demons you unlock with DLC, as far as I can tell, doesn't give you extra percentage for the compendium, but if you are playing the game, you should beat this demon. She has good abilities and she has good stats, so she will be useful for the last few bosses that you encounter in the game. I think I got her after beating Odin and Zeus, but even for the final dungeon, she's a big help. So you should definitely get her. And I would say, without a doubt, Tiamat is the hardest boss fight in the main story. To beat Tiamat, you should use physical attacks. This also works against the Kadishta, I would say. Physical AoE attacks that attack everybody on the screen. His main body is weak against physical attacks, but if you defeat the other bodies, it will drain his health. And if you can take out multiple heads in a turn, that will deplete his health a lot. So this was my main strategy to defeat Tiamat on the hard difficulty. It took me a few days to come up with this strategy, which is extremely silly if I think about it right now, because this strategy seems quite obvious. And Tiamat does hit you with different types of elemental attacks, but that shouldn't be an issue at this point, because you can just build a Nahobido that's resistant against most of the skills. I used the Jack Frost Nahobido's essence for the most part. It has good resistances. That's one that I used for a very long time. And the final boss is Satan, which is, I would say, rather easy. He summons some orbs that look like the sun and the moon, and you need to destroy those before he absorbs them to do some massive damage. It's interesting, but not very difficult, I would say. And after you beat the game, there's a stronger version of him that has multiple phases. That one is a challenge for sure, but you don't need to worry about this one. And the first playthrough has been a success after analyzing all of the bosses for their weaknesses and building my whole team around specific bosses. I was able to beat the game on hard mode, and I do recommend to everyone who wants a challenge to play this game on hard mode, because it's an experience. It's definitely something. If you like turn-based RPGs and you want a challenge, this is the game for you, without a doubt. And now we start playthrough number 2, the Path of Creation, the original game that was released on the Nintendo Switch without all of this extra content. And speaking of that, one of the extra content is this area where you can interact with your demons, and you definitely should, because you can level them up by giving them some of these items. You get a trophy for doing this after a while. There are 2 boss trophies that you can obtain. One of them is against this boss that you see on the screen right now. If you beat the game once, you should be able to get this trophy without any issues, because it pretty much involves beating her without taking out the towers that are spread around the map. I guess they would weaken her, not that I would know, because on the second playthrough I kept around everything and I was able to play through the game in a few hours pretty much. But it is the intended way to do it if you want to complete out your compendium, because if you don't select that, you will start all over again. As you see, even the harder quest lines weren't a challenge on the next playthrough. Finishing this quest line is required to get a trophy, and you also get this demon. And there is a similar quest line on the Path of Vengeance, so I already had him unlocked. I only needed the trophy, and the questline itself is not too difficult. There is only one point that you need to keep in mind, that you don't strike him down at an earlier point when you face him, because he transforms into his stronger form after you collect all the required items to summon him. And this was the first real roadblock playing through the game. Shiva. Shiva is the third hardest boss overall in the game, and Shiva is still fair compared to the rest of the bosses in the game. At the beginning, he just summons 2 demons, and all of his demons can summon the other demons, if that makes sense. In this fight, there is one demon that can heal Shiva a lot, and I think the other demons too. That snake-looking demon, if you see that snake-looking demon, it is your main priority to take that demon down. And Shiva is weak to ice, which is a bit ironic because in Final Fantasy Shiva is the ice summon. For my build, I just made a strong almighty team, so I didn't really hit him with his weaknesses, but I would say the almighty team works on most enemies. With this almighty attack I used, it does crit sometimes, but the crit chance isn't the best. Out of 3 attacks I crit him once, which would only give me 1 extra turn. And the main thing that Shiva does is an almighty attack that drops your defense to the minimum, which is a skill you get after you beat him, that you can only use with Shiva, but it is still a strong almighty skill on all enemies. There is a demon that can heal away the status debuffs that you should get for this fight before you attempt it. And at this point I was able to unlock enough miracles. I think you need 200 for this trophy. 2 playthroughs was enough for me to get it. You do need to defeat those red tower things that spawn demons again to unlock the miracles, so you can buy them. But other than that, this trophy isn't really bad. And after this, I just finished the game, unlocking an ending what Shiva was required for to get. Another playthrough was successful on hard mode, and I started my 3rd playthrough, which wasn't very eventful. I only got the boss trophy for beating Argot's projections when she's chasing you down in this area, and 2 more collectible trophies, one of which is to collect talismans, which you can get from side quests or from talking to random demons. And the same goes for the collecting enough pendants. I was focusing on those quests, I guess, on this playthrough. But yeah, other than that, after I did all of this, I just finished the game. On this difficulty, I think this is the point where I fought the strongest version of the final boss. But other than that, this wasn't really a fruitful playthrough. After beating Shiva, or I don't even know if this is the ending you really need to get to unlock this demon. After beating the game once, I already made some research what the strongest demons in the game are, which one of them is definitely this. The boss fight itself is not difficult, because he's kinda glass cannon. He has weakness to everything, which when I first saw I was very surprised. I still had an almighty build, and just for this boss I made a physical build for the Nahobido. The rest of the party, it didn't even matter. I think they did physical attacks, but it didn't really matter what they did, because if we hit him with anything, we get an extra turn. And I think it only took me like 2 attempts to beat him. I'm also level 99, so my stats are very high. So this demon didn't pose a challenge, but you should have an extra slot open in your party. He will literally join your party as an extra party member after you beat him. There's also another, I would say, annoying trophy. I'm not sure if you need to do this on one specific playthrough, but you need to get the essence from these statues in the game. The way I did it is to use the essence right away, and as you play the game, the essences respawn into these statues, so you can get some multiple times, but you should use them right away if you collect these, just to make this trophy pop faster. And finally, what playthrough is this? I don't even know. I was able to complete 90 quests, and yes, you do need to complete 90 quests on one playthrough to get this trophy, which wasn't hard since I was very overpowered. At least that's what I thought at this point.
Oh wow! And Albino really did make it all the way here, huh? know what you're after. You gathered all those menorahs so you can go toe-to-toe with the Demi-Fiend. Is that it? Well, I hope you're ready. He's a tough one, you know.
And we got into Demi-Fiend and we got absolutely destroyed. This boss, I would say this boss is very close to unfair because I don't really see how you're supposed to fight him in a normal way. All the strategies I've seen online is to pretty much turn skip him. You summon demons around until you get like 12 extra turns. You call those demons back and your Nahubido will have like 12 turns to kill him, and he pretty much never gets a turn. So that's how people kill this guy. I tried different kinds of strategies against him, one of which was focusing on status ailments, because he is only resistant against status ailments. So you can potentially seal him and just keep hitting him, and it's pretty much the same strategy as turn skipping him, I guess, but he is still resistant against seal. So after trying a bunch of different strategies for a few days and seeing no success, I did lower the difficulty here. So he is the main reason that I wasn't able to complete the whole playthrough on hard mode, but not the only one. And we'll talk about that a bit later. The good thing is, after you beat Demi-Fiend, you can fight him again, so you can get his essence as many times as you want on one playthrough, which my strategy was to get his attacks, because one of his attacks have the turn for everything. Even if you don't one-shot the enemies, halving turns is absolutely busted in my opinion. And the other skill that I really liked is the piercing physical attack that attacks everything on screen, so it doesn't matter what the weakness is, you just pierce them and kill them. And I also kept the third attack around, the sealing one, if I want to fight the Demi-Fiend again, but I never did, except to get this one trophy to do 999 damage. I did lower the difficulty down all the way to safety to achieve this, just to have my revenge, I guess, after suffering on this boss fight for so long. And once again, after we finished all of these quests, we went for another ending, which at the very end of the game you can pretty much pick at this point what you want, or you just pick the ending for the missing demons. Some endings have demons tied to them, but we got to use Demi-Fiend in our party at least for a few bosses, which was cool. Another playthrough is done. And at this point I'm only missing one more ending, and you do need to have a save file with all the endings unlocked for another trophy that's really grindy. But on this playthrough I only got this battle-oriented trophy, where you pretty much need to fight 6 enemies in a row, which you can get in this cave pretty early on if you use the item to attract more demons. I just one-shot them with Demi-Fiend's ability. This was overkill, absolutely not necessary, but it was fun, I guess. And you can reload your save file if you don't succeed at the first attempt. And this is the last trophy I need to get that's based around game mechanics. And yeah, I just finished the game once again to get the last ending. With all 5 endings unlocked, I started the 6th playthrough, which was again on the path of vengeance. So this is what I should have just fought Satan when I first encountered him. He is definitely possible, but I came to this fight extremely unprepared and I paid the price. So the way this fight works, he absorbs demons and he gets their weaknesses. That's the whole gimmick. You're supposed to fight him on his terms. You're supposed to attack him with the weaknesses he has. My whole build was centered around All Might attacks, and he just doesn't care about All Might attacks. He just doesn't take damage. So this is the clip, I guess, on the easy difficulty once again. And after that I went to clear out the virtual battles, which you pretty much fight all the bosses again on their original difficulty and fight them on level 100. So enjoy those clips, I guess. Okay. I'm just... yeah. That's it. That's it. Cool. I mean, it's a shame. I definitely didn't know. I mean, I heard that that's his gimmick, but I was assuming you could get around it with just the strongest demons. All right, and now you're dead. Was this the last one? Nope, it doesn't see. Oh, it is. Okay, that's one down. And we get to get the next one. This well. Or this well. Okay. That was one grind. That was one crazy grind. Yeah, I know. We get that. We get the Take bit. And we have all the trophies for this part. Jeez. That was like, what, almost 4 hours? And after beating Satan, I did unlock Godborn, and you do need to beat the game on Godborn as well. So you can select a difficulty and play the game on a higher level. And all of the demons are on level 150. This is pretty much the ultimate challenge if you want to play through the game on Godborn and hard mode, but I was just, okay, let's just wrap this up. Let's just play through on normal, because at this point I played the game for like 200 hours, which the game timer doesn't reflect because I did need to retry some of the bosses multiple times at the very beginning of Godborn mode. I was also able to fuse Satan. You can only fuse him after you beat him. I'm not sure if Godborn mode is necessary to fuse him, but I needed to beat the game on this mode anyway. And on Godborn, I didn't really encounter any major difficulties until I got to this boss that you see on the screen. She has an interesting mechanic where she's weak against all the elements, but if you hit her with one of the elements, she absorbs it, and she has a lot of health. Out of all the bosses I fought in the game, she has the most health. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was able to beat her on the first try, but I almost lost every demon I had, and I used up all the items I had just to stand a chance. And it's funny that after this you fight Satan again, and he's no challenge at all. But this one, if you are going for this ending, you should definitely look out for. But I would recommend the ending where you destroy the throne and you don't have to fight Satan or any of the harder hitting bosses, which also cuts the playthrough shorter. And at this point, all we need to do is lay back and watch this ending one last time, which will unlock the trophy for beating the game on Godborn mode and the platinum trophy for Shin Megami Tensei V. Another platinum trophy has been obtained on our journey to platinum as many RPG franchises as we can. So if you want to see me complete more JRPG games or RPG games, you can stick around by pressing that shiny subscribe button.